Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? Welcome back. It is Wednesday, October 2nd, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, grannies and gators, friends, family, patriots, prisoners, and hostages too. Things, as we all know, are absolutely ludicrously mental out there in this floating rock called Earth these days, right? It's just it's anybody else finding it just like incredibly hard to keep up, and you just kind of some days you just go, gotta breathe, just gotta breathe, just pause and breathe and catch up on stuff. So today's show is kind of a little bit of one of those for me. We're going to be talking about some of the conflict analysis going on in the Middle East, some big stuff going on over there. We're going to talk about and some of the impacts, some of the analysis, some of the folks that are talking about it, and things are changing, but I think that they're actually things are kind of moving a little bit more in humanity's favor. I know that might seem a little bit hard to believe right now, but we tend to look at things through a sense of urgency that is important to us with whatever we're dealing with, wherever we are, whatever we're at. And we don't necessarily get a chance to understand or see or even hear about some of the bigger implications that inevitably the ripple effects impact us as well. So it's going to be a little bit more casual tonight, guys. No guest. I think we may have a guest tomorrow. Still waiting on a conversation on that. There's a lot going on in the run up to the election. As promised, I don't ordinarily, but I did watch the debate last night. So PDS, thank you for the invite. I was listening in on that channel as well as others. And at the end of the day, I kind of I feel bad for Americans in this uh, media construct called the Democratic Party, and the embarrassment that they're really bringing to the American people. Mr. Waltz was more like a cartoon caricature than a potential leader of America. So that was really my first introduction to JD Vance at length, and it wasn't even close in comparison as to who any sane, normal individual would want as a 2IC for running your country. So, congratulations, in my opinion, to JD Vance and the Republicans on showing America what the Democratic Party is all about down in the States. And we've got a joke up here in Canada, too. I refer to him as Lord Farquaad quite often. People call him Sparkle Socks, Fancy Pants, all kinds of things. But I've been showing this in this little novelty coin thing. And because we've got a little bit of time tonight, I'm going to talk about a few of the things that keep this platform and this community going. So I picked up some of these initially as a novelty, as a gifts, that kind of thing, and I gave them away, and I introduced them here on the platform, and I got a significantly larger response, a much larger response than I actually expected on these. So I've had to look into what it's going to take to get this to everybody that they want, and this is to make things perfectly clear, guys. This is not official tender currency. This is not Canadian currency. It has no denomination. It's not worth, a set number or anything like that. But what it is 1 gram of 0.999 pure silver, and it's stamped as a novelty coin. And I wanted to get a picture on here so everybody could see it, more clearly. What it says: "And tyranny F. Trudeau, 1 gram, 9.99 pure silver, mandate freedom, and the company that makes these that we get them ordered from is AMX. And so the retail value is $15 per coin. And what I wasn't sure about was how I was going to get them delivered to everybody. So I'm going to be talking to the post office tomorrow. I will make a rare venture out to the post office and see what's the best opportunities. So what it's going to be, guys, is it's going to be $15 per coin, and email me with your mailing address where I would ship these to, right? And so I'm going to need a little bit more of your information in order for me to figure out exactly what it'll cost you. Tell me how many you want. I can order them 30 at a time. So just kind of getting a handle on how many people want these super cool silver coins. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about or about um, financial stuff in just a second, right? Oh, sorry, wrong buttons. Still kind of lingering with some of the side effects of whatever it was that smoked me over the weekend. So we're going to get into some of the highlights of the swamp zombies and cartoon caricatures and their feeble or fobling attempts to conquer the world in just a second. But if you guys are new here, please hit that subscribe button. If you're not new here, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up or that heart or that share. Let's get some of this out there to some other folks, because it's surprising to me how many people I talk to each day that still are it's not because of bad intention. It's because of all of the poor behavior of the establishment that people still are having a hard time getting up to speed on what's really going on, what's important, what's critical. We had a very in-depth show again with lawyer Lisa Miron yet last night. This is time for Canada to find one thing to realize and focus our energies on, that is the existential threat, and there are things that we can do about that. um, the port strikes, Dan. I think before I'm getting too crazy about worrying about the port strikes up here in Canada. Yes, it's going to have an impact up here in Canada, but that's going to be not necessarily the most critical things for us. Most of our community here is pretty connected infrastructure wise, and I think that cooler heads will prevail as far as the strikes down there at some point with the level of catastrophe there. If the unions want to be to cost lives, it will cost them the unions. So I think that they're going to sort that out real quick. And something is, the port strike whole issue is a really good reminder for folks that if it's made in North America, if it's made in America or made in Canada, port strikes don't affect it at all. Something to think about moving forward, right, guys? We only are worried about stuff that comes into our ports that we don't make here anymore. So um, they're not going to get a whole lot of love or attention from this platform, but people that are fighting against Bill C-293, which is the death of Canada. If we don't get in front of this, no ifs, ands, buts, or maybes about that. So I'm happy to see a lot of other groups and organizations picking up and starting to come into alignment on actions. We got the last half of the show last night. We covered a lot of different things that people can do. I feel bad for people that are stuck in hopelessness when there's so many things that we can do that will help everybody beyond just ourselves. So help me, help you, and then you can help me, help them, and let's tell two friends and send two letters. And I sent my two out this morning again, and keep piling it on. We're actually winning, guys. We are actually winning. So as always, Substack is growing. Thank you guys for getting subscribed over there. We get to add all of the documents. Lisa gave us a whole bunch of resources that you'll find over in this Substack, including a target-rich environment for challenging climate scam cult in Alberta. A great place to start. Guaranteed every other province has got the same shenanigans going on. Um, excuse me. So there's lots of resources in there to sink your teeth into. The best way to find that is on our website, whatsupcanada.org. This is the fastest way to it. If you can't remember the URL for that, and it's also where our other partners live. And this is one of the things that we've been doing to help mitigate product shortages, supply shortages, issues, all of those kinds of things. Patriot Switch is somebody that we've been working with now for a little over a year, and it's saved me every dollar BlackRock hasn't gotten from me since then. I couldn't begin to count. They get zero support. I don't buy in the box stores anymore, and I get some of the coolest stuff in the world. This is my, I was going to show people. This is my usual coffee cup, right? I'm a big guy. This is a big coffee cup, and this is usually my juice bottle, right? Usually you guys have all seen this on the show here before, but this is my new juice bottle. This thing is like as bigger than my head. And a whole bunch of new flavors for my what I call my Gatorade. It's the stuff that, because I'm like water phobic, cannot drink water. But this the stuff that I get from these guys is not toxic, doesn't support BlackRock, and keeps me healthy, fit, and young. And of course, our other partners, um, New World Precious Metals. These guys are, you guys hear from Bryce every Friday. He's going to be really the Energizer Bunny this coming Friday. I got some news from them this morning, or this afternoon, I guess it was, and things are shaking, rattling, and rolling in the precious metals market, and this might just have something to do with it. According to the Financial Post, as of yesterday, Canada needs to prepare as the risk of bank runs rises, warns the report. The emerging clouds on the horizon signal changes needed to existing checks and balances. What does that really mean, guys? Canada may not have had a big banking failure in many years, but emerging clouds on the horizon suggest the existing checks and balances may need tweaks to be sustainable in the future, says an official who used to work for the country's top banking regulatory agency. The failure of several regional banks in the U.S. and the fall of Credit Suisse Group in Switzerland, and this is gonna trend is gonna continue. But it would be easy to say, he says, be happy because everything has gone well for several decades. But I think last year's events have led me to think that the world is changing. It is better to think that when times are calm about how things could evolve in the future as opposed to waiting for the problem. I would hate for Canada to lose its reputation. So they're really worried about banking failures in Canada. I saw another report. 1 in 20 small businesses closed in the last. I can't remember the exact time frame on that, but this is the stuff that Bryce has been warning us about so much for quite some time. There's a BRICS announcement coming up, I think, on the 12th Seems like there's 151 countries that are going to be taking BRICS up on their new currency, which is, rumor has it, based on gold, rubles, and yen. So there will be something that everybody can do business with in the new financial model while they're dumping the US dollar. So this, guys, is we're there. It looks like we're getting to that point with the collapses of different industries, institutions. Um, Oops, I just wanted to pull this up. Gold and silver sales in Canada now lower than a few years ago. Yeah, I'm not sure where they're getting their numbers from, because that's kind of, you know, and maybe, and this is something that I'll have to ask Bryce about this, because so many people are onto the banking systems methodology of how they actually sell precious metal, gold and silver. Banks don't actually deal in physical, right? It's all notes and tokens and free storage, and the odd person that comes in and get it, will they procure it and get it out there? So this will be a great conversation for Bryce on Friday. um, we're going to cover some of these other local headlines. What are you making for supper tonight? I'll take some. But we talked about this next story. We talked about this a couple of months ago, where I suspected, due to water cooler talk in the intel communities, that Mr. Mark Rutte was going to become the next head of NATO. That Chrystia Freeland, longtime rumored to be the successor there, was going to be passed over because of her flailing ineptitude here in Canada. But Mark Rutte was the go-to guy. Well, he was anointed basically yesterday to lead the military bloc amid increasing global tensions over wars in Ukraine, Gaza, and Sudan. And he really didn't waste any time asserting his prowess or prominence over this organization, and did make some announcements yesterday as well towards the ongoing conflict in the Ukraine. We're seeing a lot of jockeying, and I'm going to be skipping most of the headlines and the gobbledygook filler innuendo in what they want you to think, and kind of bring it to you straight from the water cooler talk, with the intel community, the people that I go to that are regularly correct. Um, so his basic show of prowess was to announce, yeah, he thinks that NATO will support long range strikes by Ukraine into Russia. But, and he had to add a but, that it's only based on Ukraine's ability to do so. NATO is not going to direct other nations, other participatory nations, to conduct these strikes. So that may sound like an escalation and ominous, but here's something that they're not telling you in any of these news organization, agency, mainstream media, mercenary bunk. What they're not telling you is that Ukraine has no capability to conduct long range strikes into Russia. They don't have the equipment or the personnel or the technology. So at this point, even if they had the missiles, they would be useless because they don't have the ability to control the guidance systems. They can't direct them. They can't do anything with them except pull the trigger and watch them go. So they really stand no hope of using any of these long range weapons. The only personnel in Ukraine that have those capabilities is the US. So if the US, it's basically on Joe Biden and Kamala at this point as to whether they're going to um as to whether they're going to, give Zelensky permission to use long-range strikes into Russia, which means that Joe Biden and Kamala are committing to using American resources to strike Russia, which would in turn evoke a very strong response from Russia. I'm not going to suggest nuclear war because I don't think even Kamala and Joe are that stupid right now because they've got other bigger problems brewing with the Middle East. So a full-scale war with Russia is not what America wants. The warhawks want it, the military-industrial complex wants it, but the people don't want it and they will not support it. I don't think going into the election right now that that's a risk that they are willing to take, engaging in an immediate and hostile response to America, directly to America from Russia. That wouldn't be in anybody's best interest, not even their own. So that's not likely to happen. But you know, it's the way for Mark Rutte to sound powerful and tough and like he's the go-to guy, but really while meanwhile giving up nothing except laying the shoulder of blame on the US specifically if we go to nuclear war. Do y'all want that? I don't think even the meat muppets in DC swamp want that. So I guess time will tell. I don't think that is our biggest danger zone for getting sucked into, a global consuming conflict. We'll talk about that, the rest of that, because that's top story news, real soon. And these guys are lunatics. So this is a clip in regards to I just for some reason or another I think I played this a couple of weeks ago, but given the continuous attack against the Republicans for suggesting late full term abortion in the US that it was available, this 1 minute clip fact checks CNN, Timmy the Tool Time Tampon Waltz, and all the rest of that demented cult. So here's a clip from Cat Canada. I think everybody needs to hear this 57 seconds.
When they tell you late term abortion does not happen, show them this.
We're going to call the abortion facility and I'm going to tell them I'm pregnant with a 32-week fetus, as you say. Hi, I just turned 32 weeks pregnant. Am I able to come in for an abortion ASAP? Can I still have an abortion at 34 weeks?
Yes.
Sure, at 5 minutes. Yeah, I just found out that she could have Down syndrome. I can still have the abortion, right, even though she has Down syndrome?
Yeah, so we just have to do an intake because
it doesn't fucking matter. That's late-term abortion, ma'am. That's abortion in the 8th month of pregnancy. That's discriminatory based on someone's genetic code. She just confirmed she would commit an abortion on me with my child who's viable and can live outside the womb.
So, for everybody out there that thinks that the debate is still on, they are genocidal murderers, and our Liberal Party here in Canada is, the mini-me's of that same psychopathy. It's just they're monsters. That is their cult. Yeah. So this is kind of a two-part little segment here that I wanted to bring you guys. Still in Canada here, but this is from Blacklocks, and Andy Lee. So we're going to start with the Blacklocks, where I love these guys because they do evidence-based reporting. That's it. They don't do op-eds. They don't do analysis. They just show you what they find. These people are masters of freedom of information and research. So Blacklocks says documents show CSIS warned feds 163 times that Chinese agents were active, contradicting Justin Trudeau's claim as late as 2023 that he was never told since it wasn't significant. So CSIS is fed up. Good. We asked what happened to that information. Was it ever briefed up out of CSIS? It was not. CSIS made the determination that it wasn't something that needed to be raised to a higher level because it wasn't a significant enough concern. Let's hear him.
Information that was released on Monday through the media never made it to me, to my office, or to the minister at the time. Going forward, such information would absolutely have to be raised to the highest political levels. Yes.
Anybody believe him? Who do you believe here, guys? Like CSIS or Mr. Lord Farquaad? It's a good thing I've only got really short clips for you guys of these swamp zombies, that it's not going to hurt you guys' brains too much, because I really should have clown music here or something. But this is from yesterday again as well. Christopher Freeland repeats her strange and unfounded claim that Pierre Poilievre receives foreign policy advice from Elon Musk and Tucker Carlson. Mr. Speaker,
we are glad to get economic advice from smart former Canadian central bankers like Kearney and like Steve Pillows, who is doing some great work advising us on how to encourage Canadian pension funds to invest more in Canada. Meanwhile, Mr. Speaker, on that side of the House, they get their foreign policy advice from Elon Musk and from Tucker Carlson. They should be ashamed of themselves. The people of Ukraine certainly know what's going on.
The people of Ukraine certainly know what's going on. What the hell does Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, and the people of Ukraine have to do with Pierre Poilievre? Like, this is just the level of absurdity. This is, how somebody that's drunk or delusional, and maybe this talking tater tot has, gone through a little bit of fermentation in her brain or something, because there is something seriously wrong with that kind of rhetoric in there. And I think, you look at people's behavior when they are panic stricken and they're lost, they don't know what to do. Well, Christopher Freeland is typically Mr. Speaker. That, for the rest of our lives, anytime you hear that, every person in Canada is going to know exactly who those two words belong to. Mr. Speaker, right? And what might be bothering Christopher Freeland? Well, here's an interesting story that I just kind of tripped over from Naya. If you can't put two and two together, this is Christopher Freeland running cover for his lineage. This is another report today from Blacklock's reporter. Want Nazi list kept a secret. Cabinet should not declassify a secret blacklist of suspected Nazi collaborators recommended for prosecution 39 years ago. The Ukrainian-Canadian Congress said yesterday suspects named in the confidential 1985 list, even if long dead, have several generations of descendants who deserve privacy, said the Congress president. Today we hear repeated calls for the disclosure of the names of these innocent people. Christopher Freeland is exactly one of those descendants of Nazi fascism. Her family is absolutely a Nazi. She's her lineage is the Banderas cult is exactly that. That is who is Zelensky's primary controller, and a great number of them are still alive and here in Canada. And not only that, they have captured the institutions. Basically, all of the institutions. They came here. They were given jobs and professions, teaching, science, medicine, all of those things were basically recaptured by the Frankfurt School of Nazism, of which Chrystia Freeland is a devout product thereof. Right. So, as of the year 2000, there was still more than 9,000 Nazi veteran paychecks coming to Canada. So they make claims in 1985, oh, if any of them are still alive. Well, 9,000 of them were still getting veterans checks in the year 2000. What have they been able to build and breed and grow in our country? Yeah. So I'm gonna try. I got myself backed or messed up here as to what was next, and oh, there we go. Okay, well, bear with me for 1 minute, guys. So we're gonna move from one of the swamp zombies in the Nazi lineage of the WEF Fourth Reich to the next one, Mr. Mark Carney, who she suggests and Trudeau suggests and everybody suggests is the most appropriate person to tell everybody in Canada what to do, even though he was absolutely not elected. He was a parachute in Mr. Fixer. You know, in the mafia, the syndicate, in the movies, they've all got a fixer. Well, Mark Carney is one of those fixers. Mark Rutte is one of those fixers. Keir Starmer is one of those fixers. They are mafia fixers, all high-ranking officials within the World Economic Forum and banking cabal, completely operating outside of any legitimacy of office or democracy. Carol, that's where I'm. Why is it not coming up? What's going on here? That's where I'm from. I know all about it. There's probably few that have tracked her as well as I have and what their families have been up to. That particular family. But Mark Carney, let's get back to this other swamp zombie, or lieutenant of swamp zombies. Besides billions of dollars of conflict of interest and perks and grift and corruption that he's associated with in organizing and structuring the Liberal Party, he warns net zero will mean significant stranded property assets. Now, I wasn't paying Financial Times to read this, but it's just part and parcel. He's telling you he's going to crush the country while he's busy crushing the country, and meanwhile, he is the task force master. And National Post has reported that this task force that he is leading has no members but him. So dinner for one, Mr. Mark Carney, which brings me back to this term coup d'etat. Once again, people aren't connecting the basic definition of our country has been captured by unelected foreign entities. If we actually looked at it, if we put a tag on it and said Osama bin Laden has just captured our country through infiltration, spies, and policy manipulation, captured our judiciary, and hijacked our police forces. Do you think Canadians would do something about it? But no, because these people wear suits and talk like bankers, and Ukrainian nationals, and Laurentian elites, that we are just we are the product to them, and they have completely pulled it over all of our Canadian heads, because we don't even understand what a coup is. So I'm going to read it again, and I might have to do this once a week, but this is from a subsection on Wikipedia. You just search coup d'etat. What is a coup d'etat? And everybody, thinks of, revolutions, overthrowing the government, the Arab Spring, the Color Revolution. Those are, yes, all coup d'etats, but those aren't the only kind of coup d'etats. And you guys are absolutely all of us are being the victims of this one particular micro understanding of it called the self coup, also called an auto coup. From the Spanish language, or coup from the top, is a form of coup d'etat in which a nation's head, having come to power through legal means, stays in power through illegal means. Gee, sound at all familiar? The leader may dissolve or render powerless the national legislature and unlawfully assume extraordinary powers not granted under normal circumstances. Geez, does this sound anything like the young global leader trifecta of Chrystia Freeland, Jagmeet Singh, and Justin Trudeau, and their immediate commanding officer, Mark Carney, come parachuting in to take control, just like MacArthur walking back into the Philippines? That's the way Mark Carney feels walking back into Canada, right? Other measures may include annulling the nation's constitution, suspending civil courts, and having the head of government assume dictatorial powers. Canada, you are a prisoner in a captured country. You are now in your own country a prisoner by a captured foreign entity. There is no simpler way to say this. I take no pleasure in saying this, but by sheer specific definition, this is exactly what has happened. And the Stasi, whatever you want to call them, FSB, KGB, CSIS, they are all operating under the authority of hostile foreign leadership, because there is nothing about any of these people that is not hostile and threatening and endangering, literally taking away every opportunity to not just thrive but provide even for our families. Made is an evil, one of the most evil things that we've come to accept, that it's okay for our government to slaughter its own people because they are desperate for relief and remedy. I hope some Americans actually do get some Americans of influence, because they don't seem to think that anything matters here in Canada. It's too small. Nothing but ice and Eskimos. Nothing goes on in Canada. Meanwhile, it's the American oligarchs that have been using Canada as a cottage country and playground for generations that are controlling and manipulating. They've got Canadian politicians dancing for their little pennies and their pittance in order to commit crimes against humanity. So it's these swamp creatures. This is the only way to accurately describe what is going on in Canada, is literally, by definition, a self coup by people that, as Klaus has said it, and we've heard it a million times, we are most proud of what we have achieved in Canada, with more than half of the cabinet which we have penetrated as young global leaders. Right? So, time to take off the blinders, guys. You're prisoners in your own country, and Bill C-63 Bill C-63, yes, and Bill C-293 are the globalists' final solution. That's the equivalent, is their final solution. This is how they do cleanup on old stock Canada. This is literally the precipice, and I'm not being melodramatic in any of this. But I've got another short little clip here that I got pulled up from Ivor Cummings. The Fat Emperor. I love that guy. He's brilliant. He's got a 2-minute clip here, which his description says, utter brilliance and profound insight from Nick Hudson. Again, please retweet so people can grasp the basic rule of how to deal with today's elite funded feudal scam system. All right, let's check it out.
What do you think? Do you think there is a parallel because between both COVID and climate?
Yes, let's take a step back. The general rule of thumb that I believe everybody should adopt, that if any problem is being presented as a global crisis, then it is a scam. And the pattern that we are confronted with
100%.
is really the fabrication of global crises. The presentation either of non-existent problems or small local problems as being general global crises. That fabrication followed by the assertion that the only solutions that are permissible are global ones that require a global authority, global control. That is the general pattern that we are up against. The COVID policy response was one of those. Look at what happened to countries like Sweden or Tanzania, who tried to push back against the orthodoxy, the new orthodoxy. And the climate crisis, the climate change crisis, is another example where we are told that the biggest threat to the world is this molecule, CO2, and that an increase in the level of this molecule will cause an increase in temperature, and that temperature increase will be bad for us, and that the only thing we can do is consume fewer fossil fuels and less energy. That's fitting the pattern exactly. The other things you can observe is, instead of presenting science as an ongoing, evolving activity, it is presented in terms of static knowledge, consensus. And you see the cancellation and censorship of dissident voices rather than engagement with them. These patterns are proof of a scam. That is what people need to understand. Whenever something is presented as the science, as a consensus, it is a scam. You do not have to go and get engaged in all of the minutiae of the scientific principles and the models and the measurements at all. You can know with absolute certainty that you are dealing with a scam when dissent is suppressed.
100%. 100% right. The instant somebody of authority says that something needs to be censored or platforms are throttled, that is an automatic that it's a scam and censorship. So anything that, it's just basically, the old rule of thumb, if it can't be questioned, it's probably true, right? But a good little clip from Ivor. Now, this is a long post. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's a little clip in here that I did want everybody to play or to hear. It's 2 minutes from Julian Assange, and this is so relevant and pertinent. Yep. Anytime dissent is crushed or open public discussion is crushed, if it's civilized discussion that is being crushed, it is a scam and a crime. It is a part of the problem reaction solution. 100%, Carly. Thank you for that. Yes, guys, every Substack for the next little while is going to have the information, and I'll cover it here at the end of the show here tonight on how you guys can do something about what's going on, and it's important for us to get more on the same page. But this is something from Julian Assange that I think it's important for people to hear.
He revealed the CIA's vast production of malware and viruses, its subversion of supply chains, its subversion of antivirus software, cars, smart TVs, and iPhones. CIA Director Pompeo launched a campaign of retribution. It is now a matter of public record that under Pompeo's explicit direction, the CIA drew up plans to kidnap and to assassinate me within the Ecuadorian embassy in London and authorize going after my European colleagues, subjecting us to theft, hacking attacks, and the planting of false information. My wife and
How is Pompeo not in prison for conspiring to assassinate a journalist is beyond comprehension to me.
my infant son were also targeted. A CIA asset was permanently assigned to track my wife, and instructions were given to obtain DNA from my 6-month-old son's nappy. This is the testimony of more than 30 current and former US intelligence officials speaking to the US press, which has been additionally corroborated by records seized in a prosecution brought against some of the CIA agents involved. The CIA's targeting of myself, my family, and my associates through aggressive extrajudicial and extraterritorial means provides a rare insight into how powerful intelligence organizations engage in transnational repression. Such repressions are not unique. What is unique is that we know so much about this one due to numerous whistleblowers and to judicial investigations in Spain.
So there were some other things that that he said that were obviously there's more to his speech, and yeah, he does look too many years in jail, but basically fighting for himself for about 10 years, basically, that he was persecuted by intelligence apparatus, illegitimate intelligence apparatus. One of the things that he said that was really profound yesterday in his speech was that he wasn't free because the system worked, and that's where he was free because he pled guilty to doing journalism. And that's literally the same double-barrel shotgun that me and people like me are going to be staring down the barrels of here in Canada with Bill C-63 and Bill 293. If I try to tell you guys the truth, I will be charged, locked up, fined, lawfared out of existence, removed from access to media or distribution, forbidden to talk to anybody, and maybe even not to get out of my house or out of the gulag unless I plead guilty to doing journalism, right? I'm going to pull this up in the UK now. Exactly. And this is to individuals. You know, this is how close we're coming. But with the thing about the UK that strikes me is, how long is it before I cover the story here in Canada and become a criminal for being a journalist when the first person in Canada is forced to register their therapy chicken, right? Because if you have a chicken in the UK now, you have to register that. If you don't, you will be a criminal. Now, if I'm a journalist and I report on that, does that make me a criminal for doing journalism because some renegade resistor has a chicken that's unregistered? This is the level of the connectivity of the absurdity and the crimes against the entire, our societies. This is all that's going to work. They're literally going to be able to do by the letter of the law. And we saw, with mischief, how far they could carry that. Imagine, how far they could take you away for for covering a chicken story, right? So I'm going to add into the Substack. I mostly just brought this up here tonight because the Vigilant Fox is pretty sharp on point for things, and he did a breakdown thread on his thoughts on the the debate last night. It wasn't a debate; it was an intellectual slaughter. The sheer number of memes coming out about facial expressions on Tim Walz makes it cartoonish to me, right? Um, but for those that didn't get a chance to watch it, wouldn't be able to suffer through it. It was 90 minutes. It was long. It was painful. But there was some interesting points, and this kind of reflects back to. It's good to know how it gets documented, because in this there was a big kerfuffle in the debate about what Roe versus Wade is all about and late term abortion, and we covered that earlier. As to sorry, guys, but yeah, it is real. It is easy, and Mr. Vance is 100% correct. So, fact check the fact checkers, please. Okay, now we are into the shitstorm of it all. Excuse my French, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, grannies and gators, but that is the only way to describe this genocidal berserker frenzy of conflict that our species seems to be obsessed with. Now, I'm not. I hate war in any capacity, and I'm not taking sides. I am absolutely taking sides in the Ukraine conflict, but the one in the Middle East, I am not picking sides on. They need to sort that out. It's becoming a bigger problem here. But what they want us to believe is not necessarily what's the truth is. So, according to Brian Lilly, in Israel, Canada's longstanding ally, was under attack by the terrorists supporting Islamic Republic of Iran, the Trudeau government was lecturing Israel. Every facet of the many conflicts of the Middle East right now are driven by Iran. I have to say incorrect. You are absolutely incorrect in that assessment, Brian, and this is what makes you a danger in your ignorance, being the only tolerated and accepted media, because Iran is not pulling the strings in the Middle East. Iran is reacting and doing what they are being told or allowed to do. So now I'm going to pull up a little clip here. I'm going to move this other one back a little bit further again. Bear with me, guys. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, I've got this one. So yes, potentially 200 missiles were fired into Israel. The tally of dead is one. One Palestinian got hit by falling debris. The video is on X. You can find it. It's pretty gruesome and graphic. But no other civilian casualties, 200 missiles. Now, there's some differing opinions on that. Iran says 80 to 90% hit their targets. Israel says 80 to 90% were shot down. According to eyewitness testimony and videos on available on suppressed media platforms like Telegram, that can be confirmed that no, Israel did not shoot down all of the missiles that were fired at Israel. But what they're also not telling you is what triggered this attack from Iran to Israel. And thinking back just a couple of days, Israel struck terrorists in multiple countries: Lebanon, Syria, Iran, Iraq. Israel's just running around shooting at people in pretty much whatever country they want to with no impunity. And Iran had threatened a massive retaliatory response. But then this kind of happened. And let you guys listen to this, and then we'll talk a little bit more.
President, he said that they're going to consult with their Israeli allies. and Iran's going to pay a very heavy price. But he didn't get into any details. I don't believe Sullivan said when they're going to retaliate or what they plan to do with regards to retaliation. Now, keep in mind that before the missiles were launched, Iran, they notified Russia and they notified the United States. So
Iran notified both the United States and Russia before the ballistic missile attack on Israel yesterday. So this was not a random violent response as projected. Now, in the name of time, I've got a meeting again, World War C-293. So I'm going to kind of speed through some of this, but I'm going to add all of this in the Substack, of course, tomorrow. But if they really wanted to escalate this conflict, would they have warned the people that they were going to do this? Would there be no casualties? What they're not telling you is Iran made military incursions into foreign countries. They put soldiers into Lebanon. So Israel is conducting special military operations, and Iran was forced to respond. But they responded with a controlled response. And this is the part that I think is critically important, because we see this pattern happen so often. These people, these cultures, it's like Bantam Roosters fighting with each other. And they come all fluffing and attack, a few feathers fly, and then they back off and they catch their breath and they wind up again. So this is significantly important. There is, I believe, even the vice president of Russia, including a whole bunch of other dignitaries, are in Iran right now. And they are the ones that are telling Iran how to respond in order to de-escalate this and not lose face. So in the Middle Eastern regimes, it's critical that they can't lose face. They must save their honor. So we see this happen quite often. It's a token signatory attack built to buy peace rather than actually create conflict, because if you were actually intent on attacking, you're not going to warn your enemy. So this is all part of the media construct, and this is important here now, because you're not going to see nukes flying over there tomorrow, right? I want to de-escalate the amount of fear that this is breeding. America has 40,000 troops over there right now. Iran does not really want to suck America into World War Mediterranean, but of course, there are certain members of the military-industrial complex, the war hawks, that do absolutely. They've been wanting a war with Iran for years. Trump will end it. So they're at a real loggerheads right now as to how to manage and juggling these conflicts before the election. So I think there's some analyst water cooler talk that they're going to try to keep this under wraps or under lids until they realize who's going to be the next president, and then leave a disaster for Mr. Trump. So there's some sabotage going on there. So this is me kind of wondering, when Hillary says there's going to be an October event, because there always is, she says it's just inevitable. There's always an October event. What does it actually mean? And I don't think that it's going to be a surprise to some people. So paying attention to all the different players on this battlefield of psychopathic lunatics leads us to something else. It's October. Today is October 2nd. We are 5 days away from, guess what? A significant anniversary. And in lieu of this, it appears that York Regional Police have set up 2 command posts amid escalating tensions in the Middle East. What do you think is going on, guys? You guys have seen what's going on here with the Palestinians here in Canada, across the country. the things that they are saying and talking and preaching and professing from the streets, them and their imams, burning of the churches. Do you think that they're going to leave this anniversary alone for a single second? I think that's kind of naive thinking, guys. So again, I'm going to add this into the Substack for everybody to get a little bit more of the deets on, and pay attention to some of these things, and don't get decide to go out for an ice cream when there's a Palestinian celebration going on or planned, or anywhere near anything of significance on October 7th. I am incredibly concerned at what the potentials of that might be. And this just reaffirms some of these considerations about Canadians being replaced. And what kind of people are we being replaced with? Oh, yeah, that kind. So, of the 16 cities in the world with the highest percent of foreign born populations, half of them are in Canada. 5 of the 6 highest are in Canada. As of 2021, Canadian-born citizens were a minority in 4 Ontario cities, including Toronto. How does that make you feel, Canada? You know, I saw a post on X earlier today asking, you know, are Canadians' tolerance running out? You know, Canadians are the most generous people on the planet until things go sideways. And then we can also be very different, and tolerance can turn to intolerance. So my question to you is, what happens afterwards when people's tolerance level has been shattered? Because that is what they're planning to do. Is that where we really want to end up? Because what ends up happening then is things like extreme nationalism, Nazism, fascism. Those are the things that get born out of tolerance and generosity pushed too far. So I think the hashtag remigration, send them all home, is more appropriate. So here's the cities, in some of the cities in Canada where the population is higher with foreign born people with ideologies not our own. We've got Brampton, Mississauga, Toronto, Surrey, and Vancouver. Montreal is at 40%, and then not far down the list, 16 and 22, is Calgary and Edmonton, right? That should be disturbing to Canadians. So, in my estimation, given the level of knowledge we have for some of these radical cultures and ideologies, that is exactly, you know, it was Paul Harvey. If the devil were writing a book, you know, if the devil was my enemy, whatever that was. But, you know, these globalists, they knew exactly how to infiltrate and disrupt and destroy Canada and create the exact environment for a complete decimation of our culture. And on that note, Canada is sending another $10 million to Lebanon for humanitarian aid. Someone in my live chat recommends we sell Trudeau's $9 million condo to pay for this. What do you think? But I wanted to bring up the quote. Today, the Honorable Ahmed Hussein, Minister of International Development, announced that Canada is providing $10 million. Ahmed Hussein. That name should go down in history as one of the most evil and diabolical terroristically inclined individuals in the history of our time. In our time in history. Anyways. But yeah, so don't ever forget his accomplishments someday. Last quick bit here, guys. Another scary flu bug has been found in Germany. The Hamburg virus has arrived. So do you want cheese on that? Apparently Marburg, side effect of many of the people who received the chemical concoctions, is now being described as a live and transmitting bug in Germany from Rwanda or wherever, blah, 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 blah. The next wave of viral fear porn is on its way. So last couple of things, guys, find the links to these in the Substack. They're way too big to share with you guys, but there's 2 sites 2 pages that you find in the Substack that do all the work for you, fill in all of the blanks, find the right people, the right addresses, get engaged, get plugged in, forget the Tupperware party, they're going bankrupt, forget the football party, you're not going to enjoy watching football when all you can eat is crickets. Anyway, so let's get in front of Bill C-293. We covered a lot of that last night in depth, how it applies from both ends. This has to be the unification cry of our country to set ourselves free from this coup. It's really the only way before things get beyond our ability. So it's time to stop the syndicate, right? I think we can kind of agree on that, guys. So attach the shares, scrap C293, scrap C63. Use these hashtags. What that means is when you go into like on Substack and you go into the search bar, let's see what happens. I'll just give you guys a show real time. See, all of these articles come up that have information connected to exactly what we're talking about, right? And that search engine thing with the hashtag that works on all of the social media platforms. You'll find whatever's posted on that social media platform that others have used that hashtag. It becomes a mini search library for everybody to access, right, guys? So yeah, lots covered again tonight. Thank you guys all so much for hanging out and for the shares and the likes and the subscribes. This is a symbiotic relationship. I do what I do with you guys, for you guys, because that's what it's all about. We all end up the same reduced carbon if we don't get together on this. So I sort through the mess and try to make some sense of it. And if I do, I hope you guys find enough value in there to share it, to move it forward, and help get others educated. Our side is the only one that's growing, and people are looking for more. Do yourself a favor, give them something better, something more accurate. Support the effective journalists. Get all of the extras on Substack. Absolutely. If you're interested in the novelty coins, contact at whatsupcanada.org. And yeah, guys, we are not funded, sourced, paid in any way except for by the goodwill of the people. Some people choose to subscribe with a paid subscription on Substack. I think it's $8 a month. You can do that there. No requirement. Everything I do is always free, but you can, if you want to, $8 a month, subscribe in Substack, and you get all the extras as well. Or you can send a donation. Irma Ray, thank you for your support this month. That helps us keep this free for everybody out there. So yeah, support the frontline warriors, guys. Everybody's looking for help, and it's not trying to say that there aren't many that need it and deserve it, but the frontline journalists, I think, are critical in this time and space in our history. So on that note, I love you all. Stay mighty, my friends, warriors, family, patriots, prisoners, and hostages. I love you guys all. And don't forget to check out Patriot Switch. If things start getting harder to get, you're going to wish you'd checked it out sooner. It doesn't cost you any extra. There's all kinds of help. You don't have to be confused. You don't have to be afraid. You're not going to get cornered into anything. You're not going to get hooked into anything. Nobody's going to rob you. This is straight up the only company that I'll deal with for any kind of products that I use to live my life. And what do I mean by that? I shower, I eat, I do laundry, I just live, and I do all of that through Patriot Switch. So I love y'all. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place.